Yeah, thank you for the short introduction, Linda, and hello everyone to my presentation. I'm happy to be part of this symposium for the first time. Linda also named me. I'm Lucas Schole and I'm a PhD student at the University of Hamburg. And today I will talk about out-of-field teaching in physical education in Germany and present a paper with the title Teachers Makes a Difference, Influence of the Professional Qualification and Goal Orientation of Physical Education Teachers on the Development of Basic Motor Competencies of Primary School Pupils. And I wrote this together with my colleagues Erwin Gerlach and Jeffrey Sallen, who are my supervisor and co-supervisor in my PhD. I want to start with the current situation of out-of-field teaching in physical education in Germany. It is assumed that only qualified teacher can teach quality physical education. The permission to teach physical education is dependent on the so-called facultas. That means that, for example, due to security, but especially to provide quality physical education, a good physical education, teacher education is necessary. And it's well known that there's a shortage of qualified PE teachers in primary school. For example, in the Sprint study from 2006, 50% of teachers who teach physical education in primary school have no teaching qualification. And another example for out-of-field teaching in physical education in Germany is the situation in the federal state of Bremen. Within 4 years, from school years 2012, 2013 to 2016, 2017, the rate of out-of-field teaching increased from about 43% to 55%. And partly because of these numbers, different organizations in Germany are demanding that out-of-field teaching is to be reduced. But so far, there are no empirical findings on the effects of out-of-field teaching in physical education. Our theoretical framework is a variant of the opportunity use model, the so-called cascade model by Kraus et al. And our focus will be the professional competence and their impact on students' achievements. We use the teaching qualification as part of the professional knowledge and goals as indicators for teachers' professional competence and basic motor competencies as indicator for student achievements. The current state of research shows inconsistent results in several other school subjects for the impact of teacher qualification. You all know these studies. And so far, there are few findings for the subject of physical education. This thing shows that primary school pupils show better motor development if they have been taught by a qualified teacher. And for the subject physical education, the didactic goal orientation can be examined. A distinction was made between sport orientation and development orientation, and the research shows that motor development is independent of teachers' goal orientation. Now I want to talk a little bit about basic motor competencies in primary school. In general, in physical education, Germany follows a competence-oriented approach. And among other things, physical education has a task to enabling pupils to actively participate in the culture of sport and movement. And these basic motor competencies represent context-dependent and functional performance dispositions that enable children to cope with situation-specific demands in this sport and movement culture. And furthermore, they are considered to be learnable in a sustainable manner, take into account previous experience, and are considered to be the base for the development of a higher level of competence, like basic skills and so on. Basic motor competencies in this case can be divided into the areas of object movement, for example, throwing, catching, and self-movement, for example, running and rolling. They are both based on the curriculum. And it is not the performance itself, for example, throwing, balancing, and so on, which constitutes the basic motor competencies, but rather the underlying disposition of performance, which is required to solve certain types of tasks. And the performance behavior, the observable performance of physical action is what we call basic motor qualifications. And these basic motor qualifications can be formulated as can-do statements. For example, pupil can throw, pupil can balance, pupil can jump, and builds a foundation for indirectly observable basic motor competencies, object movement, and self-movement. And here the current set of research shows a better better development in object movement for boys and in self-movement for girls. And pupils with a higher body mass index show a lower increase in competence in both of these areas, in object movement and self-movement. And older pupils show lower increase in competence in object movement, but there are no differences in the other area in self-movement. Now, our question was whether there is any impact of teacher qualification and goal orientation on the development of basic motor competencies. The measurement time points for our longitudinal study was the beginning of the school years 2018-2019, and for the second point, measurement time point, it's 2019-2020. The data collection were part of the Erasmus Plus project, Basic Motor Competencies in Europe, Assessment and Promotion. And this data collection were extended longitudinally with a subsample in the federal states in Germany of Berlin and Brandenburg. And our sample consisted of 389 pupils and 24 PE teachers from 11 primary schools. For our dependent variables, the basic motor competencies, we use the MOBAC 1-2 test instrument to assess basic motor competencies, and there are 4 movement tasks were assigned to each competence area, which are rated with 0 to 2 points. I'll go into detail in the next slides. Here you can see pictures of the tasks for balancing, rolling, jumping, running, bouncing, and dribbling. The pupils have 2 attempts each and no trial run. The rating is based on a dichotomous scale. So if one attempt is not correctly performed, it is rated with 0 points. And if it's correctly performed, the attempt is rated with 1 point. Thus, if you sum up the points per test item, every task is rated with 0 to 2 points. So here are 6 tasks, and now the other 2 tasks are throwing and catching. Here the pupils have 6 attempts and no trial run. 0 to 2 successful attempts are rated with 0 points. 3 to 4 successful attempts are rated with 1 point, and 5 to 6 successful attempts are rated with 2 points. In summary, 0 to 8 points can be achieved in each competence area of object movement and self-movement. Now the instrument for teacher qualification and goal orientation, a questionnaire was used, and the teacher qualification was assessed on the basis of physical education in studies at university. Teachers with 0% were defined as out-of-field teacher, and teachers with more than 0% were defined as in-field teacher. And to assess the goal orientations, we asked the teachers to mark the 4 most important goals out of 9. The goals were assigned to 2 areas of educational beliefs. In Germany, we talk about so-called double mission of physical education. Keep in mind that the subject is called sport or education in sport. Moreover, the term sport is related not only to competitive sport, but to the whole culture of physical activity, sport, exercise, and human movement. And in general, you can say the teacher are following more the idea of education, and the others are following more the idea of sport, exercise, and movement. And for both areas, mean values were formed, and finally the difference between the 2 orientations was calculated. Also, our variable goal orientation can therefore take on values between -1 for education through sport and +1 for education for sport. And keep in mind that this is quite a rough indicator of educational beliefs and goal orientation in physical education. Our analysis, we have done multi-level analysis with M+ to analyze our hierarchical nested data. And with multi-level analysis, different levels are taken into account. Here, the individual level and the class level. And we are controlling for age, sex, BMI, body mass index, and for T1 measure. Before we do the main analysis, we do some pre-analysis, and there the qualification, or the teacher qualification and goal orientation of the PE teachers are correlated significantly with each other. While in-field teachers are equally oriented towards education for sport and education through sport, out-of-field teachers are more strongly oriented towards education through sport. Yeah, and here you can see the results for object movement. Primary school pupils show significantly better motor development in object movement if they have been taught by an in-field teacher. Primary school pupils also show significantly better motor development in object movement if they have been taught by a teacher who oriented towards education for sport. And now here you can see the results for self-movement. Primary school pupils show no significantly better motor development in self-movement if they have been taught by an in-field teacher. Yeah, primary school pupils also show significantly worse motor development in self-movement if they have been taught by a teacher who oriented towards education for sport. So that brings me to the discussion in this short presentation. The results regarding teacher qualification should be entered into with caution, because on the one hand, there's no clear boundary between out-of-field teacher and in-field teacher, because it is not exactly whether teachers who only took part in a few physical education courses during their studies have a teaching qualification for physical education. And on the other hand, a teaching qualification is not the only indicator of a qualified teacher. So future studies should look at other indicators for a qualified teacher, for example, teaching beliefs and self-centered beliefs, teacher trainings, and goals. And for goal orientations, there are contrasting results, which we attribute to the methodological approach. And for us, it was not possible to include a model with both variables, teacher qualification and goal orientation, because of the pre-analysis showed a high intercorrelation between the qualification and the goal orientation. Thus, there are suppressor effects. But at the same time, however, this provides the first indications of an influence of goals and qualifications of teachers. In summary, teachers' goal orientation is decisive for the development of basic motor competencies, not the qualification. Yeah, thank you for listening. This was my short presentation for the current situation of out-of-field teaching in Germany in physical education.